Euro-renovation, the archaeology of shame and shine. Imagine stepping into an apartment where every square centimeter seems clipped straight from a glossy magazine of the early 2000s. Chrome handles, lacquered cabinet fronts, mirrored walls, faux gypsum board columns, and a ceiling layered with multi-tiered structures lit by neon strips, crowned in the center of the room by a glossy black piano. Not a real instrument at all, but a decorative shell concealing an air conditioning unit inside. It sounds like a scene from a film set in the time when the future seemed already to have arrived, but in reality, this was merely the peak of the so-called Euro-renovation era, once a symbol of success, status, and impeccable taste, yet today more likely to provoke a smile, nostalgia, and even mild bewilderment in those now faced with tearing it all down to start anew. So what happened to those trends once hailed as the pinnacle of design thinking? Why did they vanish into the past? And which of them, despite everything, still lurk in our homes like architectural fossils, quietly reminding us of an age when fashion dictated not only wallpaper choices, but an entire philosophy of living? Today, we embark on a genuine detective investigation, not just retracing the history of outdated trends, but tracing the evolution of our relationship with space, comfort, and the very notion of home. Because every obsolete interior detail isn't merely a dusty design relic, it's a reflection of an entire epoch, its fears, hopes, illusions, and of course the technological possibilities that then seemed limitless. We'll peek into archives of construction magazines, recall how the ideal renovation appeared on magazine covers back then, how dreams were sold through advertising campaigns, how craftsmen enthusiastically brought to life what now seems nearly absurd, and at the same time, we'll examine which mistakes of the past we continue to repeat, albeit in new forms, because fashion, like history, has a habit of returning, only in a different guise, with new technologies, and hopefully a more mature understanding that a home is not a stage for display, but a space for life. Are you ready to walk this path together? To peek behind fake columns and beneath suspended ceilings, to listen to the whisper of old wallpaper, and to understand why what was once a symbol of prestige has now become a subject of restoration irony. Multi-level ceilings studded with recessed spotlights like a starry sky overhead were once seen as the height of renovation mastery, for their installation demanded not just skill, but nearly an engineering mindset. And the very idea of zoning a room via ceiling height was embraced as a genius solution for compact apartments where every centimeter counted. And indeed, the ceiling ceased to be just a ceiling. It became an element of stagecraft, part of an interior that choreographed light, shadow, and even mood. Architects of that period famously declared the ceiling to be the fifth wall, one that must not be ignored. And so fashion turned towards structures resembling spaceships more than living rooms. Undulating waves, domes, protrusions, recesses hiding LED strips, and sometimes entire lighting systems controlled by remote. But by the mid-2000s, it became clear this beauty came at a price, not only financial but functional, since the more complex the structure, the higher the risk of leaks, gypsum board warping from humidity fluctuations, and plaster peeling. And crucially, the more levels added, the lower the perceived room height. So in standard apartments with 2.5-meter ceilings, such layering created the sensation of a basement rather than a cozy living room. Moreover, time revealed that the modular fixtures embedded in these constructions quickly burned out, their replacement requiring partial ceiling demolition, while dust accumulating in hard-to-reach niches turned cleaning into an archaeological expedition. Today, designers increasingly return to the idea of a clean ceiling, smooth, light-colored, free of unnecessary details, because it visually expands space, doesn't tire the eye, and most importantly, demands no constant maintenance. For the modern person has grown weary of interiors requiring care like a luxury car, and now wants a home that serves them, not the other way around. Interestingly, the concept of multi-leveling hasn't vanished entirely, it's simply transformed. Zoning today is achieved not through height, but through texture, color, and material. For instance, a wooden beam running across the living room or a ceiling section finished with decorative plaster can create the same interplay of light and shadow, but without technical complications or risks, and above all, without the feeling of being trapped inside an oversized cake that was once fashionable, but has long since dried out and cracked. Glossy kitchen and wardrobe fronts, reflecting every corner of the room like funhouse mirrors, were genuine emblems of success. They created an illusion of spaciousness even in the tiniest rooms, and their flawless sheen proclaimed that the owners hadn't merely renovated, but had poured soul, time, and of course considerable money into the process. Catalogs of that era presented such fronts as eternal, scratch and stain resistant, but reality proved far more prosaic. Within mere months of use, smudges from fingerprints, grease spatters, cleaning agent residue, and worst of all, everyday scratches, especially visible on dark hues like cherry, black, or navy, transformed the surfaces into something resembling a diary of domestic life, where each scratch told a story of haste, fatigue, and insufficient time for cleaning. Manufacturers naturally offered special wipes and sprays, but these only temporarily restored shine without solving the core issue. Gloss, as it turned out, is brutally honest. It forgives neither the slightest carelessness nor a single stain, demanding constant upkeep that, alas, most people simply aren't prepared to provide regularly. Consequently, by the mid-2010s, a genuine revolt against shine began. Designers, clients, and builders increasingly opted for matte, textured, tactile surfaces that not only disguised wear and tear, but fostered a warmer, more intimate atmosphere, because a home is not an exhibition hall, but a place where one can be oneself, unafraid of leaving a fingerprint on a cabinet door. Furthermore, new materials emerged. For example, solid oak fronts with oil treatment that gain patina rather than degrade over time, or composite panels mimicking concrete, stylish yet tolerant of less than perfect cleanliness. Notably, in some countries, Scandinavia for instance, high-gloss finishes never gained such traction. Natural textures and muted tones were always preferred, possibly explaining why their interior design remains strikingly current even decades later. It was built not on spectacle, but on longevity, functionality, and respect for material, not on disguising it as something more expensive or technologically advanced. Faux columns and polystyrene moldings painted gold or silver were more than mere decoration, they were declarations. Here lives someone who knows what classic elegance is and can afford their own interpretation of it. Because in standard panel block apartments with smooth but characterless walls, such elements evoked luxury, historicity, even grandeur, as if you weren't in a 9-story building on the city's outskirts, but in a Baroque palace. Craftsmen eagerly carved fluted columns from gypsum board, installed pilasters in room corners, framed doorways with elaborate cornices, and adorned ceilings with ornamental rosettes housing crystal chandeliers. And together, all this created an atmosphere difficult to call cozy, but undeniably impressive. Yet within a few years, serious drawbacks became evident. First, such decor visually weighed down the space, making it feel even smaller than it truly was. Second, any crack in the filler or chip on a column edge instantly drew attention and demanded repair, extremely difficult given the element's complex shapes. Third, this type of embellishment aged rapidly as fashion shifted away from historic stylization toward minimalism and Scandinavian functionalism, where every detail must serve a purpose, not merely decorate. Today, designers are reviving volumetric decor, but in an entirely different register. Instead of artificial columns, real wooden beams that reveal rather than conceal a building structure. Instead of moldings, hand-applied textured plaster creating light and shadow play while remaining restrained and uncluttered. Crucially, rejecting faux classicism doesn't mean rejecting beauty. On the contrary, the contemporary approach rests on respect for material, proportion, and natural light, which is why it feels not like an attempt to mimic something distant and unattainable, but as an expression of authentic, living aesthetics, unafraid of simplicity, precisely because it understands true luxury lies in harmony, not excess. Mirrored walls, especially in bedrooms and hallways, were once considered a brilliant spatial expansion trick, since reflections doubled the room, creating an illusion of infinity, particularly relevant in an era of small apartments and big dreams. People mounted full-height mirrors, lined entire walls and sometimes even ceilings with them, and the effect was indeed striking. Stepping into such a room felt like entering another world, where reality multiplied endlessly, like in a kaleidoscope. Yet soon the flip side emerged. First, mirrors amplify every interior flaw. If clutter existed, it became doubly visible. If walls were uneven, the reflection only highlighted the defect. Second, constant self-reflection can be unsettling, especially in a bedroom where one seeks relaxation, not daily eye contact with oneself. Third, mirrors impart coldness. They reflect light but don't absorb it, rendering a mirrored room lifeless, like a showroom, not a home. Contemporary designers still use mirrors, but judiciously. Small integrated panels in wardrobes, mirrored furniture inlays, tinted or frosted-edged mirrors all preserve the spatial expansion function without making you feel trapped inside a jewelry box. Moreover, greater attention is now paid to light and sound-absorbing materials, textile wall panels, cork wallpaper, relief-surfaced wood cladding, because comfort is not just about appearance but sensation, and a home should be a place you wish to remain in, not merely photograph. Scandinavian style, so natural and obvious to us today, was in fact a genuine revolution, offering a radically different approach to home, not as a status display object, but as a space for living, where every item must be useful, beautiful, and durable. Unlike Euro-renovations, often built on simulated luxury, gloss instead of wood, foam instead of moldings, chrome instead of brass, the Scandinavian approach was honest. If it's wood, let its grain show. If it's metal, let it oxidize over time, acquiring patina. If it's fabric, let it wear, but soften and grow cozier in the process. That's why such design doesn't age. It lives alongside its inhabitants, and every scratch on the table, every worn sofa corner is not a flaw, but a story that makes a house truly one's own. It's essential to grasp that Scandinavian style isn't just white walls and wooden floors. It's an entire philosophy rooted in respect for nature, light, space, and most importantly, the person inhabiting that space. That's why it conquered the world so quickly. It doesn't demand constant upkeep of an ideal. It forgives mistakes, adapts to life's rhythms, and remains beautiful precisely because its beauty lies in simplicity, not extravagance. And today, as we dismantle old multi-level ceilings, remove glossy fronts, and paint over golden moldings, we aren't merely discarding outdated decor, we're clearing space for a new understanding of home. For a space that doesn't shout, but whispers, doesn't perform, but embraces, doesn't demand admiration, but offers peace. When discussing what has fallen out of fashion, it's vital not merely to note the departure of old trends, but to understand why they left and what replaced them. Because every era leaves behind not just artifacts, but lessons. And today, when technology allows us to build almost anything, the central question is no longer can we do it, but should we do it? And this is the essence of the modern renovation mindset. It's no longer about impressing others, but about making oneself comfortable. No longer about showing off, but about feeling good. Therefore, if you're planning a renovation now, don't rush to chase the latest trends, which in 5 years may look as odd as a fake piano in the living room. Instead, ask yourself, what kind of home do you want to create? One that pleases the eye today, or one that warms the soul tomorrow, 10 or 20 years from now? Because fashion passes, but home remains. And that's precisely why investment should go not into spectacle, but into harmony. Not into ostentatious luxury, but into genuine comfort, so that even if you one day decide to redo the interior, you won't tear down walls with relief, but simply refresh what's already wonderful, because it was crafted not for Instagram, but for life. So go ahead, not just toward renovation, but toward rethinking what home truly means. Because every nail, every coat of paint, every decision is not merely a construction process, but an act of love toward yourself and those who will dwell in this space. And that's why it deserves the most honest, thoughtful, and deeply human approach possible. When discussing what has fallen out of fashion, it's vital not merely to note the departure of old trends, but to understand why they left and what replaced them. Because every era leaves behind not just artifacts, but lessons. And today, when technology allows us to build almost anything, the central question is no longer can we do it, but should we do it? And this is the essence of the modern renovation mindset. It's no longer about impressing others, but about making oneself comfortable. No longer about showing off, but about feeling good. Therefore, if you're planning a renovation now, don't rush to chase the latest trends, which in 5 years may look as odd as a fake piano in the living room. Instead, ask yourself, what kind of home do you want to create? One that pleases the eye today, or one that warms the soul tomorrow, 10 or 20 years from now? Because fashion passes, but home remains. And that's precisely why investment should go not into spectacle, but into harmony. Not into ostentatious luxury, but into genuine comfort. So that even if you one day decide to redo the interior, you won't tear down walls with relief, but simply refresh what's already wonderful, because it was crafted not for Instagram, but for life. So go ahead, not just toward renovation, but toward rethinking what home truly means. Because every nail, every coat of paint, every decision is not merely a construction process, but an act of love toward yourself and those who will dwell in this space. And that's why it deserves the most honest, thoughtful, and deeply human approach possible.